Hey everyone, welcome back to Talking Tuong, another edition of Talking Tuong, the now weekly show where I get to connect with people around the world, my friends that I haven't seen in so long because we're just stuck in Quor right now. But it's okay, we have the power of podcasting to make things all better, and I'm very excited to have this guest. Surprisingly, this is the first time he's ever been on Talking Tuong, but what a time to be on Talking Tuong because the show is transformed. It's blossomed into something different now where we get to talk about a movie a week and I let the guests choose the movie, and it's been so fun to just be like, hey, choose a movie, and they choose one for me, and it's maybe something I haven't seen in a long time. In this case, I thought I've seen the movie. Turns out I haven't seen the whole movie the whole way through before. I'm getting ahead of myself. Who I have from the interwebs, the interwaves, that is phoning in today. We have and I'm using a random adjective generator right now. So let's see. We have the flaky, accessible Matt Barrow. Oh, Jesus.
I'm flaky yet accessible. Okay.
There you go. I don't know how those two words come together. I've been trying, I forgot the last episode, but I've been trying this random adjective generator, and it's pretty incredible.
So like, okay, I guess like I can't be depended on to show up to places, but like I'm accessible in like the best kind of celebrities are where you get me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The thing is like, you will flake out on an event or anything, but you're really accessible in the way that I can text you and you'll respond.
Yeah.
You'll say, I am coming, but you'll still ditch the whole event anyways.
I'll be saying, like, I am coming, and I'm like in my underwear watching like Big or something.
Yeah, but you'll still text me, which is great. Matt Barrow, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the people who don't know who you are? I mean, you've been on several of our podcasts, the Improv Punch Up. You will be on Heroes Don't Do Paperwork. You've been on several ranked episodes. Yeah. But tell the people who only listen to Talking Tuong that who you are and what you're all about.
My name is Matt Barrow, and what I'm all about is getting laid and getting paid.
No. Yeah. I always tell people that.
The male gigolo, Matt Barrow. No, I'm an improviser in Ottawa. I do that, and I do sketch comedy as well. For I think the only recurring sketch show, Shit Hot Shit Show.
Amazing. Yes, you've been doing that for quite a while.
We did
Matt. You did a
3-year anniversary in January.
Jeez, man. Yeah. That's crazy. 3 years already. That's congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
A big thing to celebrate. Probably the longest thing you've ever committed to.
Yes.
No. Where it's okay. You're committing to me right now. You're committing your time to the Pod Cavern and all the Talking Tuong fans. Now, Matt, can you tell us, we're in Quor right now. We're in quarantine. We're in Q. What have you been doing? What have you been doing to keep busy? How are you keeping busy? What are you doing to, stay happy or stay as happy as you can be?
I've been breaking promises to myself.
Okay.
Like, I'm like, you know what? While I'm in quarantine, I'm going to read 20 pages of like a novel a day. And I'm going to watch a movie a day. And I'm going to go on a walk every day. I'm still kind of good with the reading. I stopped for like the last 3 days, but like doing that and reading comic books. I've been learning French on an app called Duo app.
Is it Duolingo?
Duolingo, yeah. Duolingo.
That's the one? Yeah. Very good.
I've been doing that every day for, I think, 19 days now, it said.
Good for you.
Thanks.
How long do you spend on Duolingo?
Like 15 minutes a day.
You know what? That's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I did Duolingo for Vietnamese because I am Vietnamese, shocker. But there is North dialect and South dialect, but in Duolingo, they only had the North dialect, which my family is Southern Vietnamese. So when I was trying to impress my family, I did it for like a month and a half, but I was trying to sneak in more Vietnamese words. And eventually my mother called me out and said, "You're speaking in Northern Vietnamese. What are you doing?" And then I was like, "Surprise, I've been trying to learn Vietnamese through this app." And she says, "Well, it's pretty bad." And that broke my spirit and I stopped. So there you go, motherly support.
Yeah, the app has been trying to get me to like, and I've this is a phrase I have learned because it's repeated it over and over again to me. Je suis un chat, which is I am a cat. Yeah, I am a cat, and I have no idea why I would ever need that in like regular conversation.
You know, I don't want this whole episode to be a Duolingo thing, but that was my main complaint about Duolingo is that all the sentences they make you say make no sense whatsoever. Well, that's great, Matt. I mean, you know, you're doing the best you can under the circumstances. And I think, you know, a good lesson to us all is that we're allowed to, you know, break promises as long as we're like comfortable. Whatever makes us feel okay in these times is perfectly acceptable. So learn to forgive yourself if you know, miss out on walk on one of these days or you forget to read one of these days.
Yeah. And breaking promises to myself is another one of those things that makes me accessible to people.
Yeah, and flaky as well. Matt, I have generated combed the internet, specifically one website, IGN, where I grabbed the stories of the week and I have them in no particular order. And I am here to share that with you today. How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic.
Now, Matt, we talked about this pre-show, but I am so excited to share a lot of this news with you because a lot of the news that broke this week have to do with comic books and movies and these things that we love and share a common interest in.
Yes.
Now, before we get into that stuff, I wanted to talk really quickly, and I know you don't play this game, but you've probably heard a lot about it, but there, you know, Animal Crossing.
Yes.
I've heard of it, probably.
Yes.
Now, there is a crazy thing that I just discovered last night where the writer of Rogue One started an Animal Crossing late night talk show on Twitch called Animal Talking. And I just want to commend people that are using Animal Crossing for like things like improv shows on Animal Crossing and now late night talk shows. And somehow it works. It's kind of janky because Nintendo's really bad at connecting people. It takes forever to people to like enter your island and stuff. Yeah. But what I was seeing is like this guy, the writer of Rogue One, is like legit interviewing people. Like he'll get people like on mic to sit down as their character, and he sets up like this late night kind of set in his like Animal Crossing home and just literally interviews them, and I think it's fascinating.
Now, does he have celebrities that are playing Animal Crossing come on, or?
Well, so he's had Felicia Day,
of course,
which is great. He is I to be honest with you, I just discovered this last night. I didn't see the full list. It's a pretty new thing. I mean, Animal Crossing's only like about a month old now right now. Yeah. But he is the former president of Nintendo, like the American side, Reggie Fils-Aimé, reached out to this guy to say, hey, I'm interested. So that's cool. So I imagine like, you know, like Chrissy Teigen and Brie Larson, I think, are like one of the biggest people right now that are playing Animal Crossing that are celebrities.
Wow.
You have people like Queer Eye people that are playing Animal Crossing. Elijah Wood is playing Animal Crossing. Like you can get a bunch of people for sure to get on this talk show. This thing is pretty cool. Now, Matt, I just recently watched the Parks and Recreation special that just happened a couple days ago. Were you able to catch this at all?
No, I'm probably going to watch that later today.
Yeah, I will not spoil anything. And this is a sentiment that's been shared across the internet. But what a wonderful, you know, the show in my mind is a perfect show. I truly believe so, or as perfect as a show can get. It's such a warm, fuzzy show as well. Yeah. And to use the characters of Parks and Rec who are just so optimistic all the time to bring the world together right now, I think is such a fantastic thing. So I'm looking forward for you to watch it.
Awesome.
Matt, time for some nerdy news.
Sweet. Let's do this.
All right. I'm going to skip this part because this is just like MCU date reshuffles, so less interesting, but MCU date reshuffles, that's happening.
Yeah.
Now, the Avengers Infinity War writers showcased a deleted shot of Doctor Strange in Iron Man armor the other day.
Damn.
So that could have been a thing. That could have been a thing that happened. We also have, let's see, the Rise of Skywalker, which has got, a ton of flack since it's come out. And I've definitely cooled on my opinion on it. I've now reached the opinion of Rise of Skywalker that I don't even want to think about it. Like, I had a perfectly okay time.
Yeah.
There's plot holes forever, for sure. But if you think too much about Star Wars, for any of the Star Wars, it always falls apart.
Yeah.
So I always recommend people to not think too hard about Star Wars. But all of it's coming to Disney Plus next week.
Yeah, I want to say excited to watch it again, but I've come to the feeling like the first 3 Star Wars movies that came like episodes 4 to 6 are great and special because I watched them as a kid, and so it gave me like specific feelings as a kid. And
you got that nostalgia.
Yeah, and none of that will replicate like that feeling of. Also, it was like they were the first of their kind, so nothing can replicate that feeling of being shown something way different as a child, even more of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like my favorite thing of Star Wars that came out in recent memory was Rogue One. Like I thought that was a fantastic it was a one and done story.
Yeah.
They introduced some characters. I know they're doing the Cassio Andor mini series for Disney Plus, but that movie itself I thought was just so good.
I also really enjoyed Mandalorian because it was such a departure from regular Star Wars.
Yeah, once it's part of like a greater story, it kind of gets messy, as all Star Wars does. This is a really interesting story that I found. Have you heard of The Last Ronin before?
No.
Okay, so The Last Ronin is a comic book miniseries that's in development or should be coming out hopefully soon, which depicts a dark future where 3 of the Ninja Turtles are dead.
Okay, yes, I have seen this.
The IDW miniseries is based on a concept created in the 80s by TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Now, they didn't say which Ninja Turtle is dead. Who would you think it is from knowing nothing about this?
Honestly, story-wise, I think it would be more devastating and compelling if Michelangelo is the last one alive.
Ah, yes. See, that is the common sentiment. When I was reading through like the comments and stuff, everyone was just like, if it's Raphael, that's boring because it's been done pretty much. Like
he tries to be a lone wolf all the time. Yeah.
Leonardo would be like, all right, well, there's something, I guess, but still kind of boring because he's so square.
I mean, at least that would be like the leader that failed his team kind of like storyline.
Yeah. Donatello, his personality doesn't really match up with any of it, really. Like, but Michelangelo, the one who's like always go lucky and whatever, for him to like lose his brothers would be fascinating.
Yeah, it'd be like a grizzled Michelangelo.
Old man Mikey.
Yes.
Like Old Man Logan, but uses nunchucks.
Mysterio like manipulated Michelangelo into thinking that all the other turtles were his enemies, and so he just killed them all.
And then that would be honestly pretty fucking cool.
Well, there's already a Marvel connection with them too, eh? You know about that, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Tell the people at home, for people who don't know.
The idea behind like the Ninja Turtles were already like their parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil, to the point that the entire thing in the original storyline was the same origin story as Matt Murdock's. He pushes the guy out of the way who hits his eyes, and it goes down to the sewers and makes the turtles.
There you go. It's a little comic book knowledge for you people. That's why we have Matt Barrow to talk about comic books here. Speaking of comic books and comic book movies, so there was a rumor, mostly by Kevin Smith, who was, very excited about the idea that Daredevil might pop up in Spider-Man, the Spider-Man sequel. And Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil on Netflix, was like, nope, that's not me. If there's a Daredevil in the next Spider-Man, it won't be played by me. So sorry, people. There's no connection there. Yeah. Now, we also have a couple movie things going on right now. And basically, one of them is Paramount is moving forward with their long-planned Transformers animated feature, and who has reportedly hired Josh Cooley, the director of the Oscar-winning Toy Story 4. How do you feel about that?
Ooh, I love Toy Story 4, but I don't know if I would like. Honestly, I'm a little cold on all of the Transformers stuff. Like, the only one that I really enjoyed was Bumblebee.
Right, but this is an animated feature.
I mean,
so
here's the thing: I never watched the animated series, but like beforehand. So like, the only real stuff I know is Michael Bay's films or the Bumblebee movie, which was like a combination of E.T. and Iron Giant.
I haven't seen the Bumblebee movie, but I heard it's shockingly good.
Yes, it's very heartfelt, which is
that's so weird.
Shocking
I should
for
watch
a Transformers movie.
Ah, that's so fascinating. I was just like, a Bumblebee movie. Fuck. I can't believe they're doing that. But all right.
But like,
I guess.
Do you love Iron Giant?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's been so long. I know that's your favorite film, but I haven't actually watched it in forever. Is that on Disney Plus?
No, because it's a Warner Brothers film.
Ah, of course. Well, whenever it's available on wide streaming, some sort of streaming platform, I will watch it.
Okay.
And then I will watch the Bumblebee movie and compare. Matt, Universal Pictures has dropped their original plans to release The King of Staten Island, which stars Pete Davidson, directed by Judd Apatow. And this is not the first time now. So Universal Pictures actually got a lot of money for releasing Trolls 2 on VOD. And surprisingly, like, people paid money to watch Trolls 2 on VOD. And now, because of this decision, Universal Pictures is now dropping this like other pretty big comedy movie, starring or directed by widely acclaimed Judd Apatow. But I think the main thing is that like we keep talking about this every week, but I think we're going to start seeing way more movies being dropped as VOD, straight to VOD, in this. And this might carry over when theaters might reopen, And AMC just recently talked about how they're dropping Universal whole cloth for doing that, basically, from their theaters, which I think is a stupid decision because AMC is already losing money. And by dropping Universal, they're also getting rid of, like, say, the Fast franchise, which makes a ton of money at the box office. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you that like it's dumb for AMC to do it. But I also think it might be just like a little bit of a hissy fit, and it'll just like when it comes back to doing movies again, it'll be like, oh yeah, no, bring the Fast franchise back for us. But
they're like, we'll make an exception for those movies.
Yeah. But I feel like this film won't do as well as Trolls did because Trolls is a family film, and so like parents are probably renting it to show their kids, and it actually. Doing those kind of movies may be a better idea on VOD than going to a theater because I watched a video yesterday breaking it all down. Like, it's easier on the parents to like wrangle the kids into the living room, pop their own popcorn, and spend $20 on a VOD rather than like $40 on like tickets and popcorn.
Get everyone together. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, I never thought about that. Huh.
So,
well, I think you're right. I think this movie, I'm not sure how it'll do, but I'm very curious to see if it also makes a good amount of money.
Yeah, because I'd also like to see like what the number, like, because we're all saying that Trolls did amazing, but other movies like Emma came out on VOD, and that stupid Vin Diesel one that I was like joking about.
Bloodshot?
Yeah, Bloodshot. And I don't think they did that well.
Oh, okay. All right. Originally you wanted to do Bloodshot for this episode. So
well, I'm like, what's a dumb superhero movie that we could probably do and then obviously make fun of because it looks incredibly stupid.
Was it incredibly stupid?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I thought you did.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
okay.
I was going to watch it for this podcast, and then when I decided on our actual pick, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no.
No, you'd much rather watch
Yeah,
that.
I'd much rather watch this.
I'm glad you chose that other movie, which we'll say in a bit.
Yes.
A few more talking points I want to go over is that Hercules is getting a Disney live-action remake in development with the Russo brothers producing it and the Shang-Chi writer.
Let's stop making live action Disney movies.
You know, it's already happening. And honestly, let's see. Like, Mulan looked really good.
Mulan looked good because it was different from what Mulan was as an animated film.
Yep.
But the other ones, it's pretty much
sure, but
same.
Yes, you're right. But let's put it in this perspective here. If Mulan sets a precedent, which we don't know, like I just heard good reviews before it came out, but if Mulan sets this precedent where they're like, oh, people want the different live action remake type of stuff, then I'm okay if they do a Disney live action remake where they do change stuff, you know?
The other thing I'm thinking of is like, do Disney like live action remakes of movies that weren't as successful. Like Hercules is perfect the way it is. Same with Aladdin was. Like to me,
yeah, but
Aladdin's the live action one was if you take the fun and magic out of the animated one is what you got there.
Wow, harsh critic.
Yeah.
Harsh critic here. I actually liked the live action Aladdin for what it was. I mean, it's not the animated one, but we did a Talking Tuong episode about this when it first came out. But I thought it was better than I expected. It didn't blow my mind, but I did enjoy it. I think Hercules, though, is in a spot where I don't think it's as revered as, like, people like Hercules, for sure. I love Hercules, but I don't think it's at the same caliber of memory of like Aladdin or Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, that kind of stuff. So when you take those stories and try to live action those ones, people are way more precious about it, right? So that's why I feel like they are like, oh, well, we have to make a lot of these live action remakes beat for beat. Where Hercules, they might be able to have more creative freedom. I maybe.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, you got the Russo brothers who are doing some good stuff, so at least you can expect some good action.
Yeah. I saw this like on Facebook, and so I just like started reading the comments on it, and like one of them was like he thought that the Russo brothers filmmaking was too dark for this, but at the same time, I guess he forgot that they did a bunch of comedy shows before coming to this, like before coming to the MCU.
Yeah, people constantly forget that kind of stuff. So. So here's my thing about like Disney movies, and I've mentioned this many times on several podcasts, but I think that, you know, they're going to do it anyway. So let's just like, whether they make it good or not, at least the good ones still exist in animated form.
Yeah.
Now, how I really feel about this is how I think this came from Mulan, especially, is that people's main complaint is that Disney live action remakes are beat for beat as the original and it has no originality. And then when Mulan came out and people are like, wait a second, no songs and no Mushu. Why isn't it like the original? So
people just want to complain.
The whole thing, people want to complain no matter what. Like, you can't please everyone. So I'm in the camp that I'd rather it be different, but you know, people complain that Mulan was different.
Yes.
So fuck them, I guess.
I'm in the camp. If it has to exist, let's make it like, let's put something different to it and not make it like the difference be dead-eyed CG versions of the characters that don't look as compelling as the traditionally animated ones.
Fair enough. Put Beyonce as Hercules. She will be the voice of Phil instead of Danny DeVito. So my last story for you today, I have a couple more, but I want to move into the movie that we have but I want to end our story on a bang.
Okay.
On a big bang here. Matt, Barrow, are you ready?
Is this about the Big Bang
to
Theory?
hear more? Yes, Big Bang Theory is coming back for a reunion special. No, that's not true. I mean, it could happen, honestly. But here we go. Space Jam 2, or just Space Jam, A New Legacy. That's the title of the next Space Jam movie, coming in 2021.
You do know my feelings towards Space Jam, right?
Yeah, you love it as much as I do.
It's not positive, Tung.
Listen, Matt, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to change your mind one day. You're going to come on and slam, and welcome to the jam.
And that song is awesome. That song is awesome. And parts of Space Jam are good. But the sum of their parts is not.
Well, I'm constantly alone in this. Actually, that's not true.
No, there's many. I argue with many people about this.
I watch Space Jam at least once a year, or maybe once every 2 years, and purely based on nostalgia and the joy I get from it, I love it. I still love it. It's just the best. I know Space Jam: A New Legacy probably won't reach the same heights, but I did tweet about this the other day, and I hope that LeBron James in the game-winning dunk. You know how Michael Jordan in the first movie, he spreads his arms
and that gross
his one arm gets super long and he's able to make a dunk from halfway through the court.
Yes.
What I want is LeBron James to get both of his legs to get really, really long and somehow kind of twirl around the court and somehow does a dunk with his legs. It's perfect.
Who do you think will be the Bill Murray of this film?
Well, I hope it's Bill Murray. Yeah. I hope it's Bill Murray. I really do. But I don't know. I also hope Michael Jordan shows up in this movie, but I don't think he will. You know?
Yeah, probably not.
I pitched this a couple times. I really, really hope, like in my Space Jam 2 like rewrite of this movie, it would be Michael Jordan is the bad guy.
Wait, what?
He gets possessed by, or maybe like he either gets possessed or he is forced to play basketball against the good guys because of whatever Looney Tunes contract he had to sign. And it's up to the Looney Tunes squad to save their old friend, Michael Jordan, by recruiting LeBron James.
Okay. If that was to be the sequel, I would watch that.
Hollywood, hear this out. Hire me. I know a lot about
so you can
Jam.
So you can get Matt Barrow to come see this, as opposed to all the other people that argue with him that it's good. That will definitely go see this.
Yeah, exactly. Matt Barrow's opinion is the only opinion that I care about. Now, everyone, because we have Matt Barrow today, we have a movie that he, actually. You know what? I'll let you introduce it, Matt, and then tell me why you picked this movie. Go ahead.
So I tried to figure out something that felt like a good choice for me. And one thing that has always been constant is kind of like my love of puppetry. It's up there with animation as well. So I picked my favorite group of puppets. It's not my favorite movie from them, but that would be not right because it's not Christmas. So I picked the Muppet Movie, which is the original classic.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me.
The 1979 classic, directed by James Frawley. And, we have Jim Henson, we have Frank Oz. We have like all the classic names of Muppets.
Yes.
Or puppet masters and voice actors. So you love the Muppets, Matt. I know you love, puppets and all that kind of stuff, but, you had the choice between Bloodshot and the Muppets. I know that was really hard for you.
Yes. I'm like, ugh. I mean, I could watch this new superhero film that looks like it was probably made around the same time as Steel. Or I can watch something that was brilliant and beautiful at its time and still is.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about that. I mean, we can talk about, many different things in the movies. I wrote a bunch of just random thoughts as I was watching this. But I guess my real question to you is do you watch this? When was the last time you watched this movie?
Probably like a year ago or so. Like it's something I love and I will rewatch and revisit. I used to have it on, I technically do still own it on DVD. Along with 3 seasons of the actual Muppet Show.
Right.
But I've lent them out to somebody and I haven't gotten them back in over a year.
That's what you get for being kind.
Yes.
Now, Matt, So you revisit this movie fairly often. Is this the first time? Because I'll be honest with you. I alluded to this at the beginning of the show. I thought I've seen this whole movie straight through, but to be honest with you, I don't think I have. Although I do recognize bits and pieces of it. Is this the first time the Muppets have ever gone in together, like in the original Muppet movie, or was there anything Muppet like before this?
The show was before this.
The show was before.
Yeah, they made this after the
okay.
success of the show.
I see. When was the show made? This was in 1979.
Like I think I'm trying to think of the math on this. Like early 70s to mid. Like
okay, all right.
4 seasons before. Like they did 4 seasons, finished the show, and then made the movies, I believe.
Cool. So Matt, what were your favorite? This is a movie that you love, maybe not as much as Space Jam, but you love anyways. What do you like about this movie in general? Not like favorite scenes about it, but like the tone of it, or what are your favorite aspects of this movie as a film?
I love that it's like not cynical, and it is just like pure joy throughout the movie. I love the way the puppets play out, like these master puppeteers and like voice actors like play off each other. Like there's certain scenes where it kind of just feels clear that it's been improvised,
right?
Because I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but there's online test footage to see how the Muppets would be outside of their made studio. Okay. And it's just like Frank Oz and like Jim Henson fucking with the puppets. And
fucking with the puppets. Not
fucking with the puppets.
Okay, great.
And like at one point they gained like they play this huge thing of like the puppets learning that they're puppets. And like it's like at one point like Fozzie like goes like, Kermit, what's that like coming from your arm? And he's like, oh, it's a rod. And then like Kermit like looks and like just like gets a shock to see like there's a man orchestrating his body. Anyways, the point is like I love the way they play off each other. I also kind of enjoyed trying to figure out who the guest stars are in that film.
There's so many.
Yeah, and it's like celebrities of that time, and like some that you can still like know now.
Yeah, it's I guess. So I've watched this movie for the Muppets. I've seen bits. I think I actually have seen the Muppet Christmas Carol the whole way through one time.
Yes.
I know this is your favorite Muppet movie, and it's a movie that I always forget to watch every Christmas, but I will this year.
It's on Disney Plus,
and it's on Disney Plus, so it's much easier to watch now than it was before. And I love the Jason Segel Muppet movie. Like I fell in love with that movie right away, and I didn't watch the sequel because it didn't have him in it. But watching this, it made me appreciate the Muppets even more. Like I guess a common thing about the Muppets is how freaking silly and optimistic they are, and how punny they are, as well as just the sheer amount of silliness that happens on screen is such a joy to watch. Yeah,
like it's also kind of like, along with my quote end quote love of Space Jam, another thing that is well known about me is I don't really care for puns too much, but with the Muppets, like I love it because it's just part of who they are.
Yep. Well, they're also very meta. Is a thing that I realized watching this film.
You mean
and
the
just
movie
remembering
within a movie?
Yeah, just like a lot of stuff, or like call it just like the movie within the movie, or like them passing off the screenplay is like the meta part that I'm thinking about right now. But there's I think several other parts in the movie where they kind of just break character or whatever it is. And I mean, like, think about in the way that this movie is just the Muppets watching a movie. It's also very, very silly as well. And then when you think about that, and then within the movie, they pass the screenplay of the movie to the characters, is like, wait a second, what's happening? But it works. Yeah. It works because it doesn't matter. It's just like, here's the gag, just enjoy it. Don't think too hard, just enjoy it.
Yeah. Because like, Because, like, the entire thing about the Muppets is, like, the Muppet Show itself was more about the behind the scenes stuff than the actual show. So I feel like that's what they're kind of doing, like, brought with this movie as well. Because, the screenplay thing, or where Fozzie was going to explain how they met up with Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem Band, and, like, Kermit's like, don't. It's not enjoyable for the audience to rehear this.
Yeah, so that's super meta. Exactly. Like that. I love that. Matt, do you have any favorite moments in the movie? Like, I know you love this movie whole cloth, but is there things that, like, you know, stand out to you? That's not just the songs, because we can talk about the songs in a bit, but like any like gags and jokes that you really enjoyed, or observations.
Before the gags, I want to just discuss the opening sequence, not for the song, but like for the technique of what happened there. Like, of Kermit singing Rainbow Connection on a log. That happened with Jim Henson being inside the log and doing the puppetry while watching it on a small TV inside the log with him.
Wow.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Fun fact, everyone. That's great.
Yeah, it's like that stuff, like just the sheer technique of these guys, like Kermit on a bike as well.
Oh my God, Kermit on a bike. Yeah. That was such a funny scene to me because it was an observation I made. I'm like, Kermit could have seen these two giant trucks from a mile away, and somehow he still was able to just get his bike run over, which I thought was really funny. He's really good at hopping, is what we've realized, because he's a frog. So there you go.
But yeah, I also really love the scene with them and Steve Martin. Because that one just seems them, like it just seems like Frank Oz and Jim Henson improvising with Steve Martin, with giving him like a prompt of like, you're kind of like an annoyed waiter, and like he just played with it because it just seemed completely Steve Martin to me too, of that time.
Oh my God, it was like definitely like very SNL-y Steve Martin back in the day. Like you get like a very cartoony Steve Martin. And that was like my favorite cameo of the movie, not only because Steve Martin's very, very recognizable, but the moment he turns around, he's wearing like, you know, a waiter top, but like shorts. I thought was like short shorts. I thought was really funny. Or like the gag where he like pours the wine, tastes it, spits it out, being like gross. And then he's like, yep, it's good.
I also love just the faces he made when he would call for Miss Piggy or Kermit to get on the phone with them.
Yeah. Or when he like whips out the straws and be like, I knew you'd be asking for straws for wine. I thought was a really
that also kind of seemed meta to me as well, because they're puppets and they need to drink it and they can't lift the glasses. So I think part of it is like, I knew you as puppets were going to ask for straws.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I just thought it'd be a fun gag to drink. I just like the idea of drinking wine from a straw, especially like a paper straw or like a plastic straw. It's hilarious. What are give me some other favorite moments that you liked, or gags?
Well, I also I love the sequence of them in the car, like almost every car scene with them, the two of them, like Fozzie and Kermit, because we don't talk about this enough in society, but Kermit and Fozzie to me are one of the best comedic duos.
Yes. That's an excellent point. Yeah, they're so good together.
Because I honestly kind of feel like I'm both Kermit and Fozzie. Like I'm Kermit when I'm trying to run my own show. Like when I do the Shit Hot Shit Show, things can go crazy, and it feels like I'm wrangling a group of weirdos, just like Kermit. Yeah. Or when I'm doing stand-up or improv, I'm trying as hard as I can, and almost in a desperate way to get laughs, like Fozzie.
Yeah, and you're used to getting vegetables thrown at you when you're bombing.
Not a good improviser or comedian, people.
I thought that scene was so funny when they were just like, Fozzie immediately goes up, goes Waka Waka, does his thing, and then immediately the crowd just turns on him, boos him, throws tons of vegetables at him. And then Kermit says, you know what? I can save the day. And he goes on stage, dances with Fozzie, and they get an even worse like thrashing of vegetables and booze.
Well, I love that they're trying to do like mid-tier like family fun stuff in a clearly like a horrible bar.
Yeah.
To the point that the owner of the bar was thrown out by the crowd.
Yeah, that crowd is mean. Like they throw Fozzie and Kermit like into the fan.
Yeah.
Like that could go badly.
I also noticed like the opening jokes where I forget who it was. Like somebody said it's something. And Kermit's like, no, it's a myth, and like the whole that back and forth that seemed very Mel Brooks-ish to me as well. And it helped it like they at least had one person that normally performs with Mel Brooks like in Mel Brooks movies in it with them.
Yeah. Speaking of like the myth, like that gag in the movie really cracked me up when it's just like myth, and then you got like the woman who's like yes, and then like as in like miss, and then later they say it again, and this woman comes out of nowhere, like behind, like they're in the car or whatever, and they're saying myth or whatever it is, and out, like this woman comes again behind a billboard and goes yes.
Yeah, well, they also,
I think it's like such a fantastic callback.
They also, I love that they're doing callbacks the entire time, like the Hare Krishna joke.
Yeah. It's very improv-y in that way, or like very, well, no, it's very, exactly. It's very improv-y and comedically structured in that way. So I really like that.
And stuff. To like speak to the meta commentary on it too, like at one point in the bar where they do the joke again, like he's saying I'm lost, and the bartender says, well, how about Hare Krishna? Kermit looks at the camera and is like, good grief, it's a running joke.
Yeah. Again, pretty meta. Let's see here. I loved a couple just moments I wrote down that I really, really loved is, first of all, the Dr. Hopper was going to pay Kermit $500 every year, which was his salary, which I'm like, that is a terrible salary. Like that is
sell it to your own kind.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, very diabolical in that sense. I like the puns of like drinks on the house and like everybody goes on top of the house. Like that's a very cheesy joke, but like it just works so well for this movie. Let's see. I really liked the camouflaging the car. For some reason, I just found that really funny when the band camouflages the car in like a very non-conspicuous way. Like it's a very standout car. And then there's that chase sequence, and then the car parks in front of a billboard that looks similarly patterned to the car, and it works.
For that billboard. And of course it's not going to fool anyone because it's a bear and a frog inside the car. So it's like how many other bears and frogs are in cars together?
Exactly.
I also would like to talk for a minute about, I brought up how like some of the jokes are very Mel Brooks-ish. Mel Brooks being in the movie as clearly a Nazi scientist.
Oh my goodness. That was so ridiculous. Tell me more about that scene and what you liked about it. Well,
part of it is just like, oh, of course Mel Brooks is doing a German accent in this film. It's kind of like what he loves to do weirdly. But like even that sequence also is very Mel Brooks-ish. And like it's playing to his abilities. It also shows you kind of like the threat of how Doc Hopper wants Kermit. Like he's willing to brainwash him to do it. He threatens Miss Piggy. And then it turns out Miss Piggy's also the one that gets them out of the problem too, just by beating the hell out of
ass. Yeah. And like they have that like really elaborate machine that's pretty much designed specifically for Kermit.
but still ends up working for Mel Brooks.
Yeah. I really liked the line, I'm going to put this electronic yarmulke on you, which I don't know why that's just so funny to me, that he named it two different things when he was referring to it. And then he also does this amazing, just dives into character thing where he's like basically licking the buttons of the machine. And I just thought that was so, like, he's so sensual about it. He's just like, this machine's going to fuck you up. And then he starts like licking it in like a really perverted way. I'm like, oh my God.
Part of me feels like that was just something Mel Brooks chose to do. And the director and Jim Henson are like, okay.
Yeah, no, that has to be improv, right? Like that has to be. Another gag I really liked was the billboard pie being a real pie.
That was real. That also like just feels like typically like Muppets, because a lot of their influence is also like vaudevillian style acts, which would be like a pie in the face.
Yeah, very slapsticky, kind of like in your face kind of comedy that's like super obvious, but also it works. Again, it keeps working in this movie. I think the only thing that so with this movie, I have all the good things to say about it. I really enjoyed watching this, and again, being like my first time watching the entire way through, really, really enjoyed it. I think the only thing was that maybe there was I wouldn't say a pacing issue because it's only an hour and a half, but like the story, the way it rises, I mean, I think there could be like a way to make it slightly tighter in some senses, but that's a very it's a very minor criticism. Like I think it's just a joy to watch, but I just think the beats of the movie could be a tighter experience. I don't know how to make it better. I'm not going to say I'm a movie expert in that way. I just felt like there was a parts of the movie where I'm just like, not bored, but I was on such a high of like one part of the movie, and the way it like kind of ebbed and flowed through the plot of it, I think could have been just tighter.
I feel like the story took a back seat to the Muppets in this movie. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because I love the Muppets, but like the parts that you probably like would say like are lagging are the like, oh shit, yeah, we got to get back to Doc Hopper now to like show how much of a threat he is. So we have to like pan away from these bright and colorful puppets to Doc Hopper.
Yeah, to like get some, exposition out of the way or whatever it is. But that's Doc Hopper was really fun to watch. Like he's such a like silly villain, which I do appreciate. But it's the Muppets that like steal the show. So, yeah. What do you think about the Big Muppet? I always forget his name.
I love Sweetums. Yeah, his name is Sweetums.
Just the guy. the one who like chases them and is like, hey, wait for me.
I want to go on, you guys.
Ooh, he's creepy.
Well, if you remember, like in the big pan out of different puppets, he is one of the least creepy big puppets, though. Like there's just one like that's just like a giant orange thing that like just has. It looks like something from Monsters Inc. almost.
I think the creepiest thing in this entire movie, which I thought was a fantastic cameo, but Big Bird.
Why would
Big Bird Big Bird cameo? I just keeps reminding me because it's just Big Bird. His face always bothered me. Like he's kind of it's so deadpanned. Like his eyes never really change. And I think it was a hilarious cameo because Big Bird's just walking down like the desert road, being like, I'm gonna try out for like this thing. But just Big Bird is just so. I don't like his face. Never did.
Okay, well, I will say I've always loved Big Bird. Big Bird is one. I think he's my favorite Muppets. Or not my Muppet. Yeah, my favorite Muppet from Sesame Street. And I think it's just like...
Is it a Muppet from Sesame Street or is it a puppet from Sesame Street?
Well, they're all Jim Henson's people, but I guess technically speaking, they're just puppets that are Jim Henson puppets because...
some Juppets.
Yeah, some Juppets. Because they can't be Muppets, otherwise then they would go underneath the Disney banner, and they do not want that. Like Jim Henson was very specific. Sesame Street is its own wonderful, beautiful thing that big executives cannot get their hands on because it's meant for PBS and to teach children that otherwise wouldn't get education.
Yes. Interesting.
So Big Bird was my favorite puppet of Sesame Street, and I feel like when I first watched the movie, that was the cameo I was the most excited about. Yeah. And I also watched another movie a lot back then called Catch That Bird, which was a Sesame Street movie about Big Bird trying to find out who his real family is.
Wow.
Spoiler alert, it's the people at Sesame Street.
Wow. What a twist. What a twist. Well, Matt, I have two more questions for you before we wrap up our discussion about the Muppets. Obviously, we both like this movie. I'm glad you chose this movie over Bloodshot. But two very important questions. The first being, what was your favorite song of this movie?
So I love all of them. It's like choosing a child. I love them all almost equally for different reasons. And I'll just clearly Rainbow Connection is the biggest one, and it's like a big deal, and it's kind of like the song you associate with the Muppets now, aside from like Muppet Connection or aside from the Muppet Show theme. But I also love, the one with Rolf and Kermit, and it's because the idea that it's just Jim Henson in a duet, because he does both Rolf and Kermit.
Oh yeah, that's true, eh? Yeah, all of the puppeteers do multiple voices, which is very impressive.
Yeah, like I feel like aside from I'm gonna go back there someday, which is also one of my favorites, and it's like a very deep emotional song that doesn't need, like, it wasn't really supposed to be in the script, but like Paul Williams is like, hey, we wrote this song. Here, you guys just listen to it. You might want it, you might not. And Jim,
is that the Gonzo one?
And Jim Henson's like, we're gonna work this into the movie.
Cool.
And I love that song. And also that is the only song that Jim Henson has isn't singing on. Because he does Rainbow Connection, he does Moving Right Along. He's the voice of...
I love that song.
He's the voice of Dr. Teeth, so he's the one that does... He's singing Can You Picture That? Oh, wait, no, sorry. He also doesn't do Miss Piggy's, because that's Frank Oz.
Right, of course. Yeah. I loved all the songs in this, but of course, Rainbow Connection, and I really grew attached to Moving Right Along. I thought that was like it's just a fun song, and they bring it back later too, which is really great. And but to be honest, like all the songs are very, very catchy.
Yeah, I always play Moving Right Along right before I do a road trip.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's a perfect road trip song. Matt, brings me to my last question here. And the question is not if Gonzo's a little like a turkey or not, because they do address that. He's like, well, he's kind of like a turkey, but he's not, which I really like. they're like, we have a frog, we have a pig, we have a bear, and then we have this thing that's not a turkey. But my question to you is, who is your favorite Muppet?
Oh, Fozzie.
Fozzie Bear. Waka Waka.
He's just always trying to get comedy, get jokes, and he's never working it. And he also was the character they had the hardest coming up with, because it just seemed sad, because like he would be telling these jokes and Statler and Waldorf would just fucking pelt him with insults. It wasn't until like later on that they just, and like Fozzie was also kind of like mean about things. It wasn't until they brought in like the optimism and the boyishness of Fozzie that he really started to work.
That's a great, eloquent way to tell about your favorite Muppet. I was also going to say Fozzie, and my reason was Waka Waka. So.
Did you hear about what Jason Segel, when he was talking about the Muppets and how he loves them and stuff, and to the point that if he flubbed a line back when he was doing How I Met Your Mother, he would say Waka Waka.
Oh, amazing. That's great. That's great. I this movie makes me want to rewatch the new Muppets movie, as well as I will give the other one a shot. I heard it's not bad, it's just not as good.
The songs are still great because they're written by Jermaine Clement still.
Fantastic. So I'll give it a shot. Matt, this brings us to the end of talking about the Muppets, and close to the end of the show. Before we wrap this segment off, then what do you have any final thoughts about the Muppets?
I love them. I've loved them since I was a child, and I feel like it's something that hasn't worn off, and I feel like sometimes seeing new Muppet stuff still gives me childlike joy. And it's an important feeling, that nostalgia in this day and age too, right? To hug something or like be kind of reminded of the good times, basically. It's nice to have something that gives you the warmth of a hug when you can't get one in these days.
Well, I talked about this in the last episode, and the guests also, Lindsay and Evelyn from Making Box, said that give yourself a hug.
Yeah.
It's actually really good for you. So there you go. And Matt, I would hug you if I could, but you're going to have to keep hugging yourself until we can join back together, join forces again.
Yes.
All right, Matt, this is the end of the show. Do you have any plugs for the people?
I can't say for sure, but check out Shit Hot Shit Show on Instagram and Facebook. There might be something coming up down the line.
Fantastic. And are you looking forward to anything when we get out of here? Like, what is the first couple things that you're going to do when they're saying, you know what, COVID's over, baby. The world is just blooming with flowers and all the pretty things. There's Muppets on the street right now. Things are just amazing.
Well, first of all, I'd freak out about those Muppets that are just walking freely.
You're like, what the fuck? There's no
Have
one.
I died? Am I doing acid right now?
But yeah, what are you looking forward to when this is all over?
Going to places like movie theaters and restaurants and hugging some people.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the show. Thank you, Matt Barrow, for being on this week's episode of Talking Tongue. Of course, you can find the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. My name is Tongue. Now, Matt, do you have a catchphrase or motto that you want to share with the people?
Yes. My name is Matt Barrow, and Space Jam fucking sucks.
Well, I don't like that, but that's it. Waka waka. Bye, everyone.